great food at home. It's easy, nutritious, and surprisingly affordable. Hi, I'm Chef Jim Yocum. Today we're going to talk about fish and an interesting technique called sous vide cooking. Thanks to our friend Frankie the Fish Guy and our friends down at Boston Sword and Tuna, we have some beautiful fish. They wholesale fish. They have their own boat actually and work with other vendors, other boat owners to come up with fish. They provide us with some beautiful salmon that we have here. This fish was swimming just a few days ago. It's responsibly raised. It's actually farm raised. They've been good enough to take the bones out, and we're going to take and use a real interesting technique called sous vide cooking. S-O-U-S-V-I-D-E. It's French for under pressure. Not very much pressure, but in any case. It's a very simple technique. We're going to put a little oil on this, a little olive oil. We're going to put it in a Ziploc bag, take all the air out, then we're going to put it in a water bath, which is exactly 118 degrees. Let it sit there for about a half an hour. Timing isn't actually critical in this technique, and then we're going to enjoy it. So with that, let's press on. Sous vide's a very interesting technique. It's really precise cooking. So for example, we're going to cook this fish today at exactly 118 degrees for about an hour and a half. Think about the mechanics. This is really a game changer. So it used to be you'd take a cold piece of protein, be it fish, steak, whatever, put it on a very hot surface, a grill, pan, whatever, and you'd wind up getting not exactly what you want. Where you want exactly 118 degrees all the way through for fish, for example, or same thing works with steak or other things, but let's talk about fish right now. If you put it on a very high temperature, obviously you're probably going to overcook the outside. The dead center is going to be dead raw, and you're going to have two little strips that are about the right temperature. In this case, 118 degrees. With this technique, we're going to take the protein, we're going to put in a water bath, again exactly 118 degrees. Let it sit there for half an hour or so. Bring it out. The whole thing's going to be 118 degrees, top to bottom, front to back, whole thing. If you want, you can then put it on a grill and sear it, but for salmon, not so essential. Think about the same technique works for beef. Again, think about a T-bone steak or ribeye or whatever. Imagine a particularly thick piece. The ideal temperature for medium rare for most people is medium rare, which we as cooks are pretty generous with ourselves. We allow it medium rare to be something like 125 to 145 degrees. Well, technically the ideal temperature is 139 degrees Fahrenheit. So imagine you take your steak, put it in a Ziploc bag, take all the air out of it, put it in a water bath at exactly 139 degrees. Let it sit there for a couple of hours. It eventually comes to equilibrium of 139 degrees. You bring it out, you sear it for a matter of 30 seconds on each side, and you serve it perfectly cooked, top to bottom, front to back. The whole thing is 139 degrees with that nice browning on the outside thanks to the searing. The problem with this technique used to be that the device that would keep your water bath at exactly the temperature you said, 139 degrees, 118 degrees, whichever, was that they were really expensive. They were $1,200, $1,500, dollars, large money. The good news is folks have now figured out how to bring that price down so that they're 150 bucks. This is one model. They come in, different vendors make these things, and they're really handy. It's basically three things in one. It's a very accurate thermometer to 1/10 of a degree. It's a heating unit. There we go. And it's a water circulator. So with that, let's see it in action. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a water bath. Our tap water, like most tap water, is about 125 degrees. We're going to take and slice off a piece of the fish. That should be about right. We're going to put a little olive oil on it.
Chef, could you move the blue bag?
Absolutely. Just going to put a quick grind of pepper on it. Some salt. We're going to slide that in our bag.
Chef, is that just a regular Ziploc bag?
Yes and no. It is, the company is Ziploc, and in this case, they are what you really want to go with, since we know the chemical construction of this bag is safe for this technique. So, while other bags may work, I know that Ziploc does. I have no stock in the company. The idea to get all the air out is take a reasonable amount out, then put it in the water. The pressure of the water is actually going to force the air out, and make sure it's sealed up nice. Some folks actually do double bagging. I've not found that to be necessary, especially since the air will, a little bit of air will float to the top. We're going to take this water. We're going to put our sous vide circulator in. You can find these on the web. Attach it. Any pot will do. It just happens that this is a convenient size. There's a little button on the back that we press to start it up. At this point, if you want to change from Celsius to Fahrenheit, you can, but we're fine. We're going to set our temperature to 118 degrees. So, yep, that works. We're going to start it, and it's simply going to set the water to 118 degrees. Right now, it's registering 115 degrees. Within a few minutes, it will be 180 degrees. Unlike most cooking techniques, timing is not all that super critical here. You know, if we're on for 25 minutes, 35 minutes, not a big deal either way. Because again, we're just going for that equilibrium temperature of 118 degrees. But just to remind myself, 30 minutes for an inch of salmon turns out to be about right. It brings the whole product up to the desired temperature without overcooking. You don't want to go for hours and hours. That will actually overcook the fish. For about half an hour, we saw it about right. So we just set that in the back, let it do its thing, and we're going to go forth and make some rice. Real simple process. So just to accompany the salmon, we'll have a little rice, a little asparagus. It'll be good. To go along with our salmon today, we're also going to do some rice. This is a simple basmati rice. It's a chef instructor of mine at the CIA said, you really want to rinse the rice. We know where that's been. That's a good idea to rinse it. So my usual technique is just to rinse it. Plenty of mild water. Swish, swish. My impeccably clean hands. Drain it off. Like most things in the culinary world, I can find you 4 people that will say, don't do that. Make sure that it's not rinsed. But since I paid the Culinary Institute of America big bucks for my education, might as well follow their advice. Here we are. Ming Tsai has a technique that he refers to as the Mount Fuji method, which is for measuring rice. Rice isn't a simple ratio. It's actually a formula that one should use when figuring out how much rice to use. Some people say 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, 2 cups of rice, 4 cups of water. Ming Tsai again says it's not that simple. It's not just a straight ratio. The formula, i.e. the technique, is again what he refers to as the Mount Fuji method, which, as it turns out, pretty much translates out to 2 to 1. I know this 1 cup measure is 2 cups when it's completely full. The Mount Fuji method is you take your pot of rice, you put enough water in such that when you put your hand flat on it, your knuckle here, which is like Mount Fuji, should be where the water comes to. Well, as it turns out, that depth is about 1 knuckle for me. So I just take my knuckle, stick it in, and that's about right. So, another thing with rice I like to do is I like bay leaves. Now, I'm told that traditionally you take a bay leaf and you split it, but since our dry bay leaves are dry, I soak it briefly, split it, so that that exposure will let the flavors of the bay leaf comes out. Don't know if it's really true or not, but out of respect to tradition, I do it. So now we've taken our bay leaf, our rice. As it turns out, 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, turns out to be pretty close, at least in this pot. I'm told it works, the Mount Fuji method works in other pots. I've never tried it. I know this works, so we're done with it. I'm going to put this on the stove and let it do its magic for about a half an hour. It'll come to temperature, which will take about 8 minutes or so. At that point, we'll lower the temperature and just let it simmer for 20 minutes or so. While we're doing that, one of the nice things to go with asparagus, one nice things to go with rice and salmon is asparagus. Think about the whole package, as it were. What are you looking for on the plate? I like the idea of the red of the salmon, the white of the rice, and the green of the asparagus. Of course, you can use other things. You can use peas, you can use lettuce, whatever works for you. But asparagus works for me today. So here we are. We're going to use some asparagus. Realize you don't need to buy an entire bunch of asparagus. This is about 2 pounds of asparagus. But if you only need a pound, supermarkets are happy to sell you a pound. This stuff is sold by the pound, not by the bunch. So if you only need a pound, take the rubber bands off, do whatever you want, put the rubber bands back on. I'm as yet to ever been yelled at by a produce person for doing that. They would rather sell you 1 pound than none. So in any case, we're looking for nice tight heads. I like large asparagus. I'm told it has more flavor to it, and that seems to work for me. So we're going to do a different technique today than a lot of people use, which is we're just going to broil it. So we're going to take and rinse this. So we don't even need that much. I'm just taking a few spears. I'm going to use 5 spears. One of the other things they're real big on in culinary school was odd numbers. 3, 2, 1. So we're going to look for nice tight asparagus heads. You can see here that this is good and fresh. I like large stems of asparagus. Told it has more flavor. Also, I like to get rid of the outer husk. So when I peel this away, there won't be as much asparagus left. So the larger we start with, the more we're going to have at the end. I'm going to rinse this. That's for 2 reasons, actually. One reason is to clean it, always a good thing. The other reason is to make it so it cuts more easily. I'm going to take my peeler. We're going to broil this. So I'm going to start about halfway down and just peel it ever so lightly. Also going to take and cut off the bottom, ½ inch or so, just so we have a good fresh part to start with. Again, just peel, peel, peel. And I have a theory that the reason we're taught that we're to have odd things in culinary school is because people actually like even things. So if they take an odd number to start with, you're going to be motivated to take one of those away to get to an even number and eat it. Hence, accomplishing the cook's goal of getting people to eat things. So, there we are. We're now going to take and drizzle just a little bit of olive oil over this, put it in the broiler, broil it up for something like 3 minutes, and we'll have great asparagus. But we'll not do that until everything else is good to go. So, with that, we'll be back. We're going to do a real simple hollandaise here. To do that, like the name implies, it's real simple. It's simply an egg yolk, some butter, and a little lemon. If we're doing this cold, it would be a mayonnaise. But since we're going to warm it up, it'll be a hollandaise. Regular viewers will remember that you can also advance this, make it less simple, by doing a flavor reduction. We can put some peppercorns and thyme and garlic and shallots and so forth in a with a bit of bay leaf and vinegar. Reduce that till it's all set. Take that, strain it out. It's nice flavor, but for this, we're just going really quick and easy. So, what I've done is taken a stick of butter, put it in this little ramekin, melted it down. You'll notice it's actually in 3 layers. There's a very top thin layer of water, the middle part, which is what we really want, which is the butter fat. Some cultures it's referred to as ghee. And the bottom is actually milk solids. So we're most interested in this middle section right here. We're going to take our egg, we're going to separate it because for this we're just interested in the yolk. I'll use the white for something else. It's my impeccably clean hands to get the yolk out. Put that there. We'll warm that up ever so slightly. Whisking it. We've warmed up this pan a bit. This is the only really tricky part to this exercise. It's temperature control. Got a hot burner here. Whisking it till it starts to lighten up. I'm actually going to go ahead and add in the milk, the water part, as well as the butter fat. Warm that up a bit. If we want to, we could add cayenne pepper or paprika or any other flavors you like. Welcome to cooking. You get to do what you want. And take just a squirt of lemon. Remember, you're the chef, so you get to determine what flavor profile you want. I like about that much lemon. Whisk that in. Apply a little more heat to it. This is traditionally done over a water bath, just to control the temperature. I'm feeling lucky today.
Okay, Jim,
And that's about it.
remember that this camera can't see you when you're in that corner.
Right. We'll be back. about all there is to it. We're going to take and pop our asparagus in the broiler. And just broil that lightly for a couple of minutes. Do a quick cleanup here. Another egg yolk in there. Yeah. Let's bring this up and see what we've got. Okay, so we're still good?
Yep.
So it's been about half an hour now. Our rice is done. Take all of that on the plate. White. Treat that with just a little olive oil. We're going to bring out the star of the show, which is the salmon. Impeccably clean hands. It's beautiful. Bring out our lightly broiled asparagus. Trim that just a bit so it fits on the plate nicely. Presentation's important. It's an opportunity to talk about chiffonade. We're just going to take our basil leaf here, roll it up, slice it, slide over. And here we have our sous vide salmon with rice and broiled asparagus. And now my favorite part of the show, we get to try it. Notice how juicy it looks. Again, it's never exceeded 118 degrees, which again is lower than the temperature of your tap water. And it's perfectly cooked, top to bottom, side to side. And to quote Tony Bourdain, damn near religious experience. Hope you've enjoyed this. Hope that you can go out and try yourself some good seafood. Here in New England, we're particularly fortunate to have some really great seafood. It's one of the big pluses of living in this part of the world, and I hope you can avail yourself of it, especially the sustainable stuff from good sources that's well maintained. If you have any questions, please feel free to write me. Again, I'm Jim at chefjimyocum.com. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have some great eating. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now. Bye-bye.